guys, and welcome back to Belle's Books. Today I am back again with another study video, and today I have a really specific study video, and I'm going to be talking about the English Literature International Baccalaureate Diploma New Interactive Oral. So this is basically a new assessment that I think is taking place for the first time for students graduating or finishing the IB in 2021. Basically, I was thinking that I would just come on and I would give some advice, run through some assessment tips based on what I think. And if you're wondering who I am, then I'm a postgraduate student of medieval literature. I studied English literature at the University of York for 3 years, got my undergraduate diploma, so I do kind of know what I'm talking about, but again, I'm not an IB examiner, so use your discretion and talk to your teacher about the work that you're doing as well. So I thought we'd start off by running through the criteria. So what are the examiners looking for in this presentation? So first of all, they're looking to see if you know, understand and interpret a range of texts, work and/or performances and their meanings and implications, which is a lot. So they're also looking to see if you can know, understand and interpret the context in which these texts are written and received, elements of literary, stylistic, rhetorical, visual and performance crafts, features of specific text types and literary forms. So basically you have to know all about these texts, their context, their literature, their words, why they were written, what they were written for and their effect. And you have to be able to analyse and evaluate the ways in which the use of language creates meaning, the uses and effects of literary, stylistic, rhetorical, visual techniques, the relationships between different texts and the way that different texts may offer perspectives on human concerns. So you have to basically be able to analyse the literature, the terms, the tone, the style, the text itself, like an annotation, and you have to be able to really break it down and understand why the author's chosen to include the things that the author has included and to what effect and end goal do they work. You then have to communicate your ideas in clear, logical and persuasive ways. So now I've gone through the criterion, let's think a little bit about the question. So what are they actually asking you to do? What do you have to do in this presentation? Well, this is what you have to do. Examine the ways in which the global issue of your choice is presented through the content and form of the two texts. So, it's not too difficult, it's just a question that you have to answer in a presentation format. So after you've kind of gone through and looked at the criteria, thought about the question, what it's asking you to do, then you need to decide on your texts. You need to pick two texts that you understood well when you read them and that you enjoyed reading to some extent. You don't want to pick something that you hate or that you didn't understand. One of the texts needs to be in translation and one is just English. So after you have picked your text, then you need to pick a global area of inquiry. So these are vague areas. You've got to make them the focus of your presentation. So you can choose between, number one, culture, identity and community. And if you were to choose this one, then you might think about the way that texts explore aspects of family, class, race, ethnicity, nationality, religion, gender, sexuality, and the way that those things impact individuals and societies. You could also think about issues concerning migration, colonialism, and nationalism. The second one that you might choose is beliefs, values, and educations. You'd want to think about the beliefs and values nurtured in particular societies and the way that these beliefs and values shape individuals, communities, and educational systems. You'd also want to think about the tensions that arise when there are conflicts between different beliefs, values, and ethics. The third option you have is politics, power, and justice. So if you were going to talk about this topic, you would think about how texts explore aspects of rights and responsibilities, the workings and structures of governments and institutions. You might also consider investigating hierarchies of power, the distribution of wealth and resources, the limits of justice and the law, equality, inequality, human rights, peace and conflict. Next we have art, creativity and the imagination, and if you were going to write about this topic, then you would want to consider exploring how texts explore aspects of aesthetic imagination, creation, craft and beauty. You'd want to think a little bit about the shaping and challenging of perceptions through art and the function, value and effects of art in society. The final topic is science, technology and the environment. And if you were going to talk about this, then you'd want to think about the ways that texts explore the relationship between humans and the environment. You'd also maybe want to consider the implications of technology and media on society and different ideas of scientific development and progress. So after you have picked your area of inquiry, then you're going to need to pick a specific global issue. So that'll be some specific problem which everyone in the world kind of experiences or thinks about or deals with in some way and is related to one of these topics. So for example, if your global issue is something technology based, then it would fit into the area of inquiry, science, technology and the environment. After you have picked your global area of inquiry and your global issue, then you're going to want to pick your passage from each text. You're going to need a 40-line extract from each of the texts that you've chosen. It needs to be significant and it needs to be clearly relevant to your global issue. Basically needs to have a stance on your global issue, be talking about your global issue or relevant to your global issue in some way. You'll then want to annotate that passage and really milk it for all the different literary terms, devices, and the effects that those terms and devices have. If you'd like more tips on annotating, then you can go and watch my video, which I will link down below, on how to annotate a passage. And then finally, you're going to want to structure your presentation. So you should want to spend about a minute on your introduction. On your first extract, you'd want to spend about 2 minutes. On your second extract, 2 minutes. And then you'd want to talk about the work as a whole for 2 minutes, and then the other work as a whole for 2 minutes. And then you can spend your last minute, because it's a 10-minute presentation, on your conclusion. So you don't have to necessarily structure your presentation as extract, extract, work, work. Then you could also alternate between them. So you could talk about one text and then the other text, or you could talk about both extracts and then both works as a whole, which might be good if they're quite similar. If they're very different, then you might want to talk about them in 2 separate chunks. The important thing is to dedicate the correct amount of time to each extract and each text. You kind of want to spend an even amount of time on both texts and both extracts. So after you've kind of figured out what order you're going to talk about everything in your presentation in, you're going to want to fill that presentation out. And you're going to want to create a bullet point outline of everything you're going to talk about. Every single point you're going to make for each text should be in there, and it should be all about your global issue. So basically, you're going to be answering the question, examine the ways in which my global issue is presented through the content and form of these 2 books. That's basically your thesis statement. You're going to be examining the ways in which your global issue is presented through content and form in the works that you are talking about. As you rehearse and practice for your presentation, you're going to want to make your bullet point outline more and more empty until you bring it down to the 10 bullet points you're allowed to take into the presentation. When you're writing your bullet points, you want to make sure that you really remember everything, and you're using keywords to make sure that you don't forget to talk about anything you really need to talk about. The other thing is that you need to make sure that your bullet points aren't too long, maybe no more than 2 lines perhaps, because you could get in trouble and marked down with the IB if your bullet points are too long, which would be really unfortunate and problematic. I hope this video has given you a little bit of introduction into what an IB interactive oral is for English literature, maybe giving you some suggestions on how to structure it, and just a little bit of clarity about how to kind of tackle this huge presentation that you're probably being faced with right now. Please do like this video and subscribe for more content, and always leave a comment down below if you enjoyed this video, because I love to hear from you. It really motivates me and keeps me going. Bye, have a great day.